is with a victory for the Treasury, sadly.
I mean, this government has shown that it can be, and almost always is, tremendously stubborn. You know, they feel invincible, even though we all know that Keir Starmer himself is like the least popular prime minister since God knows when. They're not for moving, are they, generally? You know, if they were, we have seen movement on the winter fuel allowance when so many of their own MPs were so uncomfortable with that. And on the farming thing, unfortunately, not that many Labour MPs get it. There would be a handful that do understand and perhaps have some constituents affected. So I don't feel the makings of a U-turn here, but what they might do at the next opportunity is bring in some kind of, I don't know, mitigating measure.
Keir Starmer, once seen as the guide of trust for the Labour Party, is presently confronting an uncommon emergency after a stunning live TV disclosure. Isabel Oakeshott, the eminent investigative writer, has uncovered stunner points of interest of an enormous cover-up in Southport. This disclosure has smashed Starmer's validity in a moment with the truth presently disclosed. Not fair the Labour Party, but Starmer's whole political future teeters on the brink of collapse. Can he rescue the circumstance, or is it as well late to re-establish open belief? Let's jump more profound into this squeezing issue in today's video in later weeks. Whispers of debasement in Southport have reverberated through political circles. What once appeared like insignificant rumors has presently raised into a full-blown outrage with far-reaching results. Southport isn't fair. Any voting public, it is urgent to the Labour Party's technique for regaining belief within the North, a vital locale for any party pointing to lead the nation. Later occurrences have uncovered an exasperating design where people were supposedly abused without clear reasons for police summons. Presently, the splits are starting to appear as spilled reports uncover that millions of pounds designated for open ventures have bafflingly vanished. These reserves planning for framework advancement and community programs have vanished without a TR race. Rather than tending to the issue straightforwardly, the Labour Party has supposedly attempted to oversee the aftermath behind closed entryways, much appreciated to Isabel Oakeshott's tireless examination. The truth is at long last coming to light on live TV. Oakeshott's not for her unbiased approach conveyed an arrangement of stunning disclosures. She blamed the Labour authority beneath Keir Starmer of relinquishing judgment to protect political survival.
If she'd have wanted to take out the likes of James Dyson and investment bankers and so on, she would have used a sniper's rifle. But she's used a blunderbuss and she's hit all this lot. It was, as I understand it, it was a very rushed last-minute decision. And I think, you know, we all make mistakes in life, and I think it's time for them to say, you know what, we've cocked this one up a bit and back down. That's my view.
Oakeshott declared that open belief would advance disintegrate as MPS quieted and disallowed from talking out. This paints a terrible picture of Labour's inside flow. Oakeshott affirmed that Starmer's group intentionally concealed points of interest of the Southport outrage to ensure the party's notoriety. She indeed proposed that Keir Starmer himself might have been mindful of the monetary mismanagement and possibly approved endeavors to keep it covered up. This outrage isn't around one voting public. It reflects the upsetting design of mystery that seems seriously harm open certainty within the Labour Party as an entirety, referencing experiences from Dominic Cummings into inside political forms. Oakeshott claims Keir Starmer would likely have been educated approximately such significant points of interest inside minutes or hours. Reports show that millions of Starmer Act for community improvement in Southport stay unaccounted for. These reserves seem have brought trust to inhabitants and move forward the area's prospects. In step, the assets have vanished, taking off a path of unanswered questions, and Master has expressed that this shows a cover-up at the most noteworthy levels. Most critically, it raises the address of why the Labour Party chose mystery over straightforwardness, usually not fair destitute monetary administration, but a disloyalty of the guarantees made to the exceptionally individuals. The Labour Party claims to speak to the timing of this. Outrage shows up. Calculated reports propose that Starmer and the Domestic Secretary were mindful of these basic points of interest from the exceptionally starting open response has been solid, and quick social media stages are overwhelmed with outrage and stun. One noticeable tweet summarized this estimation.
But the farmers won't give up, because this is, again, it's existential for them. You know, this is really, really primal stuff. If you've run a farm for over 100, sometimes hundreds of years, your family have been on that land, and you're not doing it as Jeremy Clarkson so powerfully presented, she's not doing it to rake in loads of money. Yeah, there's a few rich farmers, but most of them aren't making very much in the way of profit. It's a way of life.
Yeah, it's a way of life, it's a culture, it's a group. If it was any other group of people, ordinarily the Labour Party would jump on that and go, we must protect these people and their culture and what they do. But of course, these are farmers, they're landowners, they're rich old duffers, and they're probably Tories as far as Keir and Rachel are concerned. And I think that plays a part in this as well.
Undoubtedly, and a lot of them will be conservative leaning. Really the best hope for, I think, the farmers is less that this government will see any sense and more that this government lasts no longer than 5 years at the absolute maximum. Unless it's another Labour government, I would expect any Tory stroke Reform administration reversing this will be one of the very first things that they do.
St. Starmer guaranteed an unused era of politics, but all we've gotten may be a continuation of the ancient ways petitions calling for a full independent examination into the Southport scandal are picking up critical footing with thousands of marks accumulated inside hours. This can be not simply a political outrage, but a breach of open belief. Voters are requesting answers. We are seeing one of the biggest cover-ups in later history. A source enigmatically commented, "I can, as it were, say I know distant more than the British Open." Yeah. The discussion doesn't halt with open objection. The Labour Party itself is in turmoil. Senior MPs are reportedly calling for a crisis assembly to address the outrage. This inside division raises encouraged questions. Approximately Starmer's capacity to preserve administration in the midst of such chaos. The street ahead for the Labour Party and for KIST is dubious. Will they select straightforwardness and revamp open believe? Or will this outrage check the starting of the conclusion for Starmer's political career, as it were? Time will tell. Remain tuned as we proceed to take after this unfurling story.
So what does the Trump victory mean for the UK? Well, basically, shares in Nigel Farage just skyrocketed. The Reform UK leader was the only British parliamentarian to be in the heart of the Donald Trump camp last night, as that victory became apparent and now becomes the single best connected British politician into the new Trump administration. This is basically a nightmare for Keir Starmer and for David Lammy, who has in the past labelled Trump a woman-hating Nazi sociopath. All very well if you're trying to get a few cheap cheers from Labour students, not so great when you actually find yourself sitting around the table with the guy. So super awkward for Labour. I can reveal that some months ago, Nigel Farage, putting country before petty politics, actually privately offered to provide the Prime Minister with something of an entree to the Trump camp. As I understand it, basically, Starmer did nothing about that. Well, what a muppet. You know, why wouldn't you take up an offer like that? It would have positioned him much better than he's positioned now. There's a whole bunch of implications now for the UK on everything from net zero to the Chagos Islands to immigration here, and I'm going to be posting some more detail on that with some more revelations shortly.